Please welcome Barbara Albert, University Duisburg-Essen.
Good afternoon. I'm Barbara Albert. I'm the rector of University of Duisburg-Essen, a large university in one of the most densely populated and industrial regions of Germany, the Ruhr area. And we have nominated Greenlyte Carbon Technologies that spin-offed not long ago from our university and since then has acquired more than 25 million euro, and it has also built a pilot plant to prove the scalability of its invention and has signed contract to spread the technology further. Greenlyte provides a new way to bind CO2 from the atmosphere and then makes it possible to refill this into carbon cycles and carbon deposits on Earth. And the inventor, Peter Beer, has worked for a long time as a scientist at my university, at our university, and he has joined forces and co-founded together with Florian, Hildebrand, and Niklas Friedrichsen, who are entrepreneurs who really know how to drive transformation. We are convinced, and that's why we nominated Greenlyte, we are convinced that it's important to have science-based enterprise like this to make our industrial-based society future-ready and future-stable, to overcome the probably most threatening consequence of the industrial age, the climate change. Thank you.
Breaking the wall to a green carbon economy. Florian Hildebrand, Greenlyte.
Yes, so I'm Florian, one of the three co-founders. Hey, this actually went. Before we maybe talk about Greenlyte, I just want to briefly talk about my journey. So before Greenlyte, I was running a software company. We scaled that to 170 people, raised over 80 million in venture capital up to this date. And then in 2020, COVID came, and we sent everybody home, work from anywhere. And my wife and I, we also seized the opportunity, and we took the summer to drive around Europe with our electric car and essentially work from anywhere. And that was the first time when we really experienced over a long period of time the effects of climate change in Europe. So we were talking, and we were sitting there in the evening having a glass of wine, and we were talking about our family, our kids, and everything that sort of is coming for us, and we realized we had to do something. So, change of career. So when you think about climate change, and I think that's nothing new, I mean, the first question that comes up is the CO2 question. And if we are not able to solve the CO2 question or to answer the CO2 question, we won't have a sustainable future. And by now it's clear that some form of direct air capture or carbon capture, so the art of taking CO2 out of the atmosphere, will be necessary. And it will be necessary to essentially do two things. On the one side, we can use the CO2 again and turn it into valuable products. On the other side, we will need massive amounts of negative emissions to store carbon underground for a really long time. So I went out and I reached out to over 100 researchers in Germany and did an innovation journey trying to find people and technologies that potentially can help that. And that's how I met Peter in the middle. That's how I met Peter, a seasoned veteran researcher who spent 30 years researching the atmosphere. And he already understood 20 years ago that we will need to take CO2 out of the atmosphere, but that existing processes are extremely energy intensive and we need something else. So he began developing the Greenlyte technology, which is a combination of direct air capture and hydrogen production. So in very simple terms, we capture CO2 from the atmosphere through a liquid absorption. We then, in the middle step, precipitate the CO2 as bicarbonate, and then we have an alkaline electrolysis where we release the CO2 and produce hydrogen. And this has three core advantages. A, because of the hydrogen, it needs less energy. B, because of this precipitation, we can decouple OPEX from CAPEX heavy processes and run fully on intermittent energy. And C, everything that we use is built on standard components that we can buy off the market. Now, it was also clear when Peter and I met that we don't have some, let's say, lack of skills. So that's how Niklas got involved. He spent 10 years building venture-backed companies, always working on the intersection between business and technology. So now we have this great technology. So what do we do with this? And we believe that our market is the hard-to-abate market for chemicals, sustainable aviation fuel, green shipping. So everywhere where we will still need carbon in the future. And always on this intersection between CO2 and hydrogen, we believe that's where we are 5 times better than our competition. And then we made a plan, and we said, okay, let's do it in 3 simple steps. Step 1, we need to show it's working. We need to show the unit economics and prove out our technology, and I'm going to come to that next. Step 2, we then need to show that it's scalable. And scalable means for us the first of a kind plant. We're extremely close to announcing this project. We're 98% complete, and then we're going to have a 1,000-ton capacity project in 2026 based on a modular line. And then after that, we believe we can really go commercial and create significant revenues. So we founded the company 2 years ago, and in that time, we were able to achieve quite a lot. So, and I always like to think, because I also did some investments, I always like to think in sort of three types of risks: the tech risk, the market risk, and the team risk. Now, tech risk. So we've now built 7, 8 facilities, some of them already connected to utilization reactors. All our facilities are connected to the cloud, meaning we have all the thousands of running hours now on our plants where we can analyze the data and create improvements. We have a 2,000 square meter factory space where we develop an idea, bring it on the prototypes, run the prototypes and analyze the data, and then we have a lab where we can even analyze the results even further, and everything that we learn we bring to our test stands outside. Market risk. We've now raised over 25 million from leading investors, some of them even in the room, I've seen them. And we've also created 7-digit revenues already. There are tons of LOIs and offtake agreements in the pipeline, but as we are a hardware company, I think sometimes more about actually finding the right customers and delivering the right project at the right location rather than just doing everything. And on top of that, and I think Barbara briefly mentioned that, we're based in Essen, which has a high talent pool of engineers. So we built a team of 60 people now, 25 to 30% PhDs. And we're not just able to create great academic talent, but also lured away senior leaders from SpaceX, from Volocopter. So we've got a really good team in place to hopefully tackle the climate crisis together. Thank you. Yes, I'm done.
It's 5 minutes.
I'm sorry.
No.
It was on time.
Yes, yes, absolutely. This is all good. So we're ready for the questions now? Yes?
Oh, no.
We have one here. Yeah. You are ready. They are getting ready. Okay, let's go.
I love really the combination CO2 and hydrogen. You presented the price tag about $100 per ton. When you are going to achieve it, and what the assumptions are, underlying assumptions in order to get there?
Yeah, so it's 3 things that we need to do. The first one is energy efficiency. We need to go to roughly 800 kilowatt hours per ton of CO2. We've run some trials at roughly 1,000, so we're not far away. The second is scale, so building it larger. And then the third is industrialization of the components. So this will come over time. And then obviously energy price. But we believe, I mean, in Germany it's not possible, but in some regions where the solar energy is around 3-4 cents, it's possible. So hopefully before 2035.
Okay, next question.
We have one here.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you, Inga. Please, go on.
You said that you're having your first, your folk realized soon. Where is it going to be, and what is your most urgent need today?
So it's going to be in Germany, and we believe there's 2 schools of thought. So some companies, like for example Porsche, they're building their stuff in Chile, where the energy is really cheap. We believe it's much more difficult to develop something somewhere where you have no infrastructure. So we're now going to Germany, where the energy is more expensive, which means we need to subsidize it. But at least we can then like faster develop. And I think on this side, for the fork one, I think we don't have so many needs because it's pretty much sold out. We've got everything in place. We now need to go through the German bureaucracy jungle. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Anyone? Dear jury? I open up to the audience. Oh, okay. Iris, you go.
Thanks, Florian. I wanted to ask a question actually a little bit on the business model beyond carbon credits. So, for example, you mentioned e-fuels. Like, how cheap does your captured CO2 need to be to make e-fuels that are at price parity?
Yeah, I think the biggest driver is actually the hydrogen, which is 80% of the cost. And if we, I mean, the idea is to essentially connect our technology to other alkaline electrolyzers and then supply everything together, hopefully keeping the hydrogen price constant. I mean, we've done some calculations ambitiously around 1.5 euros per liter if the electricity drops below 3 cents, but let's see if that's feasible. So not too far away. And if you look at the SAF market and the sort of penalties we get, it's not too far away. And in terms of, I would say, business model, I mean, we can do 3 things. We can license the stuff, we can manufacture it and sell it, or we can operate it. I mean, right now, we're sort of seeing a combination of all 3 in terms of the requests. Really, I think long-term, there's probably going to be some phase of project development and then hopefully licensing it. And that's why we're building the fork facility to then get people from, I don't know, Middle East regions where you have a lot of abundant electrical, renewable energy coming in and buying the billion-dollar deals.
Okay.
We have one here.
Any other question?
Here's one.
Okay. Please.
Hey. So ultimately, you need to go to gigaton scale to make a dent in the global carbon budget, right?
Yeah.
And when you scale up to that dimension, then things start getting weird. Like other approaches need like 10% of the global amount of platinum for their catalysts or something like this. It's a huge scale.
Yeah, true.
What kind of bottlenecks are you going to hit if you go up to that huge scale?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of the stuff that we're buying right now, some of the chemicals we use, they're not synthesized at this level, right? So I think there's lots of different challenges. I mean, I would say on the electrolysis side, because we're relying on alkaline, which is currently quite ahead right now, this is probably okay. But in terms of the scale, you're right. I mean, 50 gigatons, hopefully 80% is reduced, which means 10 gigatons are left, and our goal is to achieve 100 megatons, which is 1% of that, right? So the scale of the problem is massive. But yeah, so far it's going to be probably many components that still need to be industrialized.
Okay. I think we're done with the questions. We won't have the time to introduce a new one. Thank you so much
Good,
for your
thank you.
answers.